The sheer pace of AI right now is simply staggering. It seems like a new tool launches every single Tuesday. And by Friday, something like Claude Fable 5, that highly anticipated experimental model, gets completely banned or pulled offline because of some unexpected quirk. It leaves a lot of people feeling paralyzed. We watch the landscape shift constantly, but figuring out how to actually integrate these tools into daily work, it feels like trying to drink from a fire hose.
It really does. Welcome to the deep dive. We are stepping away from that constant, exhausting noise today. Most beginner guides out there just cut extreme analysis paralysis, honestly. You end up drowning in endless cheat sheets, and you get these rigid prompt formulas that stop working the second an app updates.
Right. Instead of drowning in all that, we're looking at a much more deliberate path. Today's mission is exploring a definitive, stress-free sequence for mastering AI workflows. We have a clear roadmap covering 3 core pillars. We're looking at picking one tool, mastering context over generic prompts, and then permanently saving that context.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to culminate all of this into a strict 6-day action plan, something you can execute without burning out. Because before you figure out exactly how to talk to these systems, you really have to stop the chaos of jumping between 5 different platforms every single day.
Switching AI tools every week is like changing gyms constantly, but never actually lifting weights.
Oh, that is exactly the right way to look at it. And not only are you never lifting weights, you are spending all your cognitive energy just figuring out where the locker room is. Jumping between tools feels highly productive in the moment. It gives you this false sense of momentum, but it actually creates a massive switching penalty. The fundamental skills you learn with one tool, like how it reasons or how it formats text, easily carry over elsewhere. Depth of knowledge always beats shallow sampling.
So if we're narrowing our focus, we really need to look at the big 3 options.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini cover almost everything most professionals will ever need. But since you probably already know what these tools are, the real question is how to optimize your choice based on your actual workflow.
They sit very close in overall quality right now, but each platform definitely leans into a distinctly different architecture. So ChatGPT is your heavy researcher. It handles search-heavy questions and deep data retrieval incredibly well.
Okay, and then Claude.
Claude is generally the absolute go-to for complex writing tasks. It is great for nuanced coding and design projects because its linguistic reasoning is so refined.
And the Gemini fits perfectly if you basically live inside Google Workspace. It seamlessly integrates into your existing Docs and Drive environment. It is ideal if you need to constantly mix text, images, and video in your workflow.
Exactly. So to actually pick one, you just follow 3 rules. First, match it to your daily work. Don't chase whatever app happens to be trending on social media this week.
Yeah, that is a trap.
Huge trap. Second, pick the platform you genuinely enjoy using. That intuitive feel is what keeps you coming back. And third, if you have the budget, pay for the premium tier.
The capability gap between those free and paid tiers is just massive. But, people worry so much about locking themselves into the wrong ecosystem early on.
They really do, but you don't need to stress about that lock-in anymore. Most major tools now support memory import. That just means moving your saved data from one tool to another.
Right.
So an early choice won't trap you. But when you do pick that premium tier, always select the strongest model available within the app settings. Apps often quietly load cheaper, weaker models by default to save themselves massive computing costs.
Wait, why should a beginner pay for the strongest model when the default free one feels fast enough for basics?
Because the strongest model breaks down your requests far more carefully. It maps out the logical steps before it types a single word, and it catches missed details you forgot to mention.
So it acts as a smarter planner, not just a faster typer.
Yes, it deeply analyzes the underlying intent.
Okay, so once you have locked into a single tool and turned on that premium model, a completely different hurdle appears. I have to admit, I still wrestle with prompt drift myself, getting lost in those overly complex formulas.
Oh, we all fall into that trap sometimes. Beginners always search desperately for the perfect prompt formula. They want this magic, fill-in-the-blank phrase that miraculously fixes bad output.
Right, like a cheat code.
Exactly. But relying on those formulas just leads to immense frustration. We really need to look at the outcome plus context, or OC, framework.
This framework completely replaces those exhausting lists of prompt tricks. Outcome simply means the specific final result you want. Context means the deep background information surrounding that request.
If you nail the context, the AI figures out the structural formulas on its own. Let's look at a practical business example. Picture needing to pick an advertising agency for a major product launch.
Okay. If you use a standard prompt, you might describe your baseline budget, mention your specific industry, and list what deliverables you need.
And that prompt will return solid but completely generic advice. You get standard evaluation criteria that applies to almost any company on Earth. It pulls from broad industry knowledge.
But it ignores what makes your specific company entirely unique.
Exactly. The massive shift happens when you swap that generic description for rich context. Instead of describing what you want, you give the tool real historical examples. You list 3 past vendors your company actually loved working with.
And you explain exactly why those relationships succeeded.
Right. Then you ask the AI to find the hidden common patterns among those past vendors. You have it build custom evaluation criteria based purely on those patterns. The AI stops guessing what you might like.
Wow.
It objectively analyzes your specific history and builds a rubric tailored precisely for your team's actual preferences.
This same concept completely transforms critical document writing, too. Instead of spending 20 minutes describing the exact tone and structure of the pitch deck you desperately want, just paste a strong example from a very similar company.
The AI infers the exact structure and logic directly from the text. It doesn't have to translate your vague explanation into a layout.
To make this consistent, there are 3 great habits for providing better context. First, name known frameworks. Tell the AI to use the pyramid principle.
Right, where you force it to state the core conclusion first, followed by supporting arguments.
Yeah, and suddenly you bypass explaining structure entirely.
Second, provide real examples to effectively convey the right tone. Written explanations of a desired tone usually miss the mark, but examples carry tone, optimal length, and precise style effortlessly.
And third, connect your daily work tools directly to the AI if the platform allows it. Hook up your Slack, Google Drive, or Notion workspace.
The tool can then pull necessary context files directly. You avoid the friction of copying and pasting massive documents every single time you start a chat.
Wait, why is giving past vendor examples fundamentally different than just describing your company's preferences?
Because human descriptions are highly subjective and often contradictory. Supplying real examples forces the AI to utilize deep, objective pattern recognition instead of relying on your self-assessment.
It reverse engineers your actual preferences instead of just guessing them.
Exactly. It shows the AI what works rather than just telling it.
Insert mid-roll sponsor read here. So, feeding the AI all this rich context is an absolute game changer for output quality. But having to type out your company history or paste in examples every single Monday gets incredibly exhausting.
It becomes a huge bottleneck. The natural evolution here is moving toward permanence. We need to make the AI actively remember your specific context so you aren't starting from zero every session.
Most of our high-value work repeats weekly or monthly. Typing the same background parameters wastes your effort. ChatGPT and Claude tackle this through a feature called projects.
And Gemini uses the exact same structural concept but calls them gems. The branding changes, but the architecture is identical. These are permanent digital homes for your highly repetitive workflows.
A truly robust project has 3 specific components working together to maintain context. First, you have your instructions. These are the strict rules, guardrails, and formatting limits that apply to every single request within that space.
Second, you have your crucial knowledge files. These are the static reference documents the tool should heavily pull from before it answers. And third, you have the memory component.
Right.
This is the running dynamic record of minor updates or corrections it picks up from your conversations over time.
Let's visualize a dedicated newsletter project living on Claude. The written instructions dictate your brand's exact tone, the required section headers, and the maximum word count.
The knowledge files hold last month's previously approved newsletter issues as pure examples, and the memory feature tracks the tiny stylistic tweaks you make over time, like learning that you hate using emojis.
Now, one simple prompt to write this week's issue automatically follows the exact format without needing any setup. But there is a vital technical trick for those knowledge files. You should always use markdown files instead of standard PDFs.
Yes, absolutely crucial.
Wait, isn't dragging and dropping a PDF just universally easier for people? It feels so much more intuitive.
Well, it feels easier to the human, definitely. But underneath the surface, PDFs are extremely messy for an AI. A PDF is essentially a visual map of coordinates. The AI has to parse invisible formatting layers, weird line breaks, and embedded fonts.
Oh, I see.
Markdown, on the other hand, is just pure, unstyled text tokens. It is incredibly cheap to process, blazingly fast, and perfectly clean for the model to read.
So the text comes through cleanly without any visual noise confusing the model's attention mechanism.
Exactly. If you only have a PDF, just ask the AI to convert it to Markdown first. It solves the messy formatting problem in seconds. But while projects are powerful, we absolutely must acknowledge their main architectural limitation.
Projects are completely siloed from each other by design. Each one stays firmly locked inside its own separate box for security and context management.
A sales strategy project literally cannot see a product roadmap project.
So what happens when your weekly newsletter project suddenly needs data from your separate sales outreach project?
It fails entirely. The newsletter project simply cannot access that siloed information. The hard boundaries aggressively prevent any cross-pollination of your data.
Right, they live in separate boxes and can't talk to each other.
Yeah, that structural separation becomes a massive workflow limit very quickly.
Because your projects are trapped in their own distinct boxes, you eventually hit a ceiling. You need a reliable way to break down those walls so the AI can spot bigger patterns across your entire workflow.
That brings us to the advanced concept of connected AI systems. A robust system reaches across every distinct box. It pulls context across separate projects beautifully, seamlessly bridging the gap between your isolated tasks.
It also learns from your specific edits and behavioral feedback over time. You completely stop starting fresh. And the system spots brilliant, unexpected connections a single siloed project never could.
It sees the full picture. There are three main system options right now, catering to very different technical comfort levels. Choosing the right one prevents that immediate feeling of overwhelm.
Claude Cowork is absolutely perfect for non-technical users. It runs directly on your local desktop environment, safely seeing your active files and apps without requiring you to write any code.
Then we have the highly mobile Claude Dispatch. This fits anyone who works heavily away from their desk. You can securely send complex tasks via voice or text on the go and get the processed results later.
Finally, there is the incredibly powerful Claude Code. This is heavily tailored for technical folks who are highly comfortable working within command line coding workflows.
Starting strictly within your comfort zone is what makes the system stick. But regardless of the system you choose, we must discuss the absolute best workflow trick of all, the reconcile trick.
This specific technique makes writing get noticeably easier every single time you use the AI.
Instead of fighting the AI to get a perfect draft, you let the tool create a rough structural draft first. Then you take it offline and edit it yourself to absolute perfection.
You paste your final polished version back into the system. You then ask the tool to specifically reconcile your final version with its original draft.
The system mechanically studies exactly what you changed, line by line. It calculates the delta between the two texts, actively applying those specific stylistic edits to all future drafts it generates for you.
Whoa. Imagine a system automatically learning your exact editing style across every single document you write.
It is profound. It completely changes how you approach daily writing tasks forever because the tool is actively learning your specific cadence.
How does the reconcile trick actually change the AI's behavior versus just telling it to make it sound more like me?
Well, telling it to sound like you is incredibly vague and subjective. Reconciling gives the model mechanical objective data points on your exact structural edits and vocabulary choices.
You're basically building an AI clone of your own editor brain.
That really is the ultimate long-term goal of a connected system.
Understanding the theory is great, but flawless execution is where most beginners completely fail. We want to give you a strict, highly paced roadmap to actually implement this.
This precise 6-day sequence implements everything we just discussed very safely. It is designed to build solid foundational skills without triggering that inevitable tech fatigue.
It's exactly like stacking Lego blocks of data. You build the foundation before the castle.
Right, and pacing it out prevents massive burnout entirely. Day 1 is incredibly simple, almost deceptively so. Pick one single tool and verify you have the strongest model turned on. That is it.
Day 2 is all about shifting your mindset toward rich context. Ditch those complex prompt formulas you saved. Practice the outcome plus context framework on just one simple task.
Day 3 focuses heavily on context habits. Try applying one specific context method in your actual daily work. Name a known framework, provide a strong example document, or connect a workspace tool.
Day 4 brilliantly introduces the concept of prominence. You create your very first project for a highly repetitive, weekly repeating task.
Day 5 is entirely dedicated to adding deep contextual depth to that new project. Add clear instructions and upload 1 or 2 clean markdown knowledge files. Let the memory features start building naturally from there.
Day 6 and beyond is strictly for scaling up your ambitions. Only once those individual projects genuinely start feeling limiting should you connect them into a broader system. So why do we delay building a system until day 6 instead of setting it up immediately?
Because systems are incredibly complex and abstract. If you skip the basic context habits, the sheer complexity of a system will paralyze your workflow instantly.
Master the basic tools before you try to wire them all together.
That really is the fundamental secret to long-term workflow success.
Let's seamlessly pull all of this together. True AI mastery isn't about hoarding obscure knowledge or trying out 50 different trending apps every month. It comes down to committing to a few core principles. You pick one tool and commit to learning its unique quirks. You feed it highly precise context rather than relying on generic magic bullet prompts. And crucially, you save that context permanently so you never have to start from absolute zero again.
Applying just those foundational steps puts you miles ahead of the curve. You completely stop using AI in a random, frustratingly unstructured way.
If AI simply reflects the information we give it, what if the only real limit to your AI's intelligence is just the quality of the context you're willing to share with it?
That is the big question to ask yourself today. Take that crucial day one step. We will see you in the next deep dive.